Everybody in place? All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone, those viewing at home, those in attendance tonight, to the February 25th, 2013 business meeting of the Coast Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, once again, welcome everyone. We're starting a little bit late. We were wrapping up a study session on the budget. Mr. Budney, Mr. Van Oss, and myself have spent many hours the last couple of weeks working on a budget. Now the rest of the board is pretty much up to speed. We'll have you up to speed shortly. We'll be presenting it in the March meetings. With that being said, we're beginning with a presentation. Turn it over to Chief Porcerelli on what he's researched on a possible mobile gun range. So, Chief, the presentation time is yours.
Good evening. What we'll do here is I just have a 5-minute video, that's it, and it kind of explains, hopefully it'll explain some of the questions you may already have. Then I have a matrix that I'm going to show you, and we'll just talk a little bit from there. If you have any questions, hopefully this will be fairly brief, but
Did you hit the looking at this?
On this one. This is just about the Meggitt company itself, then it'll get into the gun.
That's every military base has that kind of chicane to get in now.
You don't think it's going through?
Oh, I hear sound right there.
You guys don't get sound where?
Not that advanced.
No. I'm here.
The one on the side.
I think that upgrade in the budget's getting
Yeah,
a little bit
it's
closer.
better and better all the time, isn't it?
Okay, we're going to skip this here. We're just going to talk about it a little bit, then that'll work. I apologize for that. Yeah, it was a mobile gun. Oh, you clicked the other. Stand by. Just click the first one. All right. Road range. Yeah, road range. Yeah, that one. But there's no sound coming through yours.
Talk fast, Chief.
Durability. It can be designed to meet your specifications.
So we're seeing the mobile gun range as a trailer.
3 shooting lanes and a
Yeah, what
53-foot
this
trailer.
is
New configurations include a 6-lane side-by-side road range, which can be operated
yeah,
as
it's
one
in the
range or
semi-trailer,
as
as you
2
can see.
position ranges,
That's the
and
interior
an
of it.
end-to-end road range
It's a
that offers a
3-lane
3-lane range with a
shooting range
25-yard
across
target
the
distance. The construction of the road range begins with a 53-foot over-the-road trailer. The trailer's interior is lined with thermal insulating materials and covered with ballistic steel panels. Final finish treatments include rubber pavers on the floor and acoustical material for sound absorption. offering complete ballistic security and maximum noise reduction. The patented Mega training systems for climbing ram trap, an environmentally friendly granular rubber bullet trap, captures rounds virtually intact, providing a cleaner and safer range environment and simplifying lead removal. From under 5 feet, a shooter can fire full auto into the reclining ram trap without danger of ricochet or backsplatter. The shooting stalls provide 3 shooting positions. The clear ballistic panel offers an unobstructed view of the firing line while providing protection from misdirected shots. A winged barricade can swing in front of shooters to allow firing with both their strong and weak hands and simulate shooting around obstructions. Firing line security motion sensors alert shooters of movement by signal lights and automatically edging targets. A 360-degree bi-directional turning target system comes standard in the road range, providing friend-foe target presentations for reactive response and judgmental training. Random edging and turning features prevent shooters from anticipating the target. An available onboard target light creates variable light conditions. The Rangemaster 9000 is a menu-driven range control system with graphical real-time display and position. With a few keystrokes, training programs can be conveniently entered and saved for future use. Rangemaster 9000 also controls support systems such as target lighting and range security systems. Individual control units at each firing position allow shooters to have independent control of their lane by entering commands on the keypad or executing a programmed scenario. Along with its standard target system, the road range can be equipped with a...
I'm going to they can put this on the screen now. This is a matrix, a comparison that I put up. And we can just go through this. While Dale set this up, we went down to Georgia and we looked at the range. We went in this defense contractor's company, and Meggitt is within that, the DOD building there. And we spent about 3 hours actually down there. Shot inside, we listened what it would sound like from the outside. We're a little bit concerned about, we have it at the police station, how loud is it? And what we found also is it has 80 decibels outside during anybody that's in there shooting. And the big three, the auto companies, use 82 decibels for a vehicle 10 feet away at 30 miles an hour. It has to be under 82 decibels for it to pass. So the noise was, it just sounded like somebody was inside just tapping on the side of the wall of the trailer. It was unbelievable how much you didn't hear from that. It was very quiet. It was everything that we looked at and needed. And what I did is, just to show you, I have a cost comparison or a matrix that I put up here. And if you go through the first, what we did, the cost, I put the east side of Hangar 1, which was we were with the Airport Commission or Commerce Park Commission for the last 4, maybe even 5 years of negotiations. We got some numbers. Building 63 is what I wanted to try and rent, but unfortunately we were voted out of that. And the mobile range, and then the Trent gun range is what we use right now. That's where we shoot, and that's the 4 areas that I compared. So the first one, the cost, $406,000 to $558,000 is what all the different figures we got for the east side of Hangar 1. That estimation of 406 is quite low because that doesn't show the rooms we actually need, so that should be a little higher anyway. In Building 63, it ranged from $550,000 to $600,000 to build the gun range in 63. The mobile gun range is, I show 314. I've never seen a company call you up and tell you that they overpriced the range at $5,000, which was beyond me. So actually it's around 309 and 310 now. That gentleman called me today, so I didn't mark that on there yet. When I have their plus generator, there's different ways of hooking this up. You can use a portable generator. You can use a generator hooked right to the side of the trailer. You can use shore power, which comes right from the police and fire station. They bore under the road there, or the pavement rather, the parking lot. And then they hook up a power station next to where you're going to put it. So what we're going to have to add somewhere down the line is going to be between $15,000 and $25,000 total, depending on which way we hook it up. If we go with the portable generator, which we probably will, we can even cut those costs even more. That's just a generator that is trailer It's probably just a little bit bigger than this here, maybe the size of this whole thing here in this trailer, and you just set it next to wherever you want the power, and obviously just plug it in from there. But that is the cheapest way to go, but I put in the entire. So that's the cost range for all 4 areas. The yearly rental fees, we got from the east side of Hangar 1 and Building 63, everything from $4,800 a month, I'm sorry, I apologize, $4,800 a year to $18,000 a year rental fee. Now, obviously, Trenton on the end there, we spent $500 renting that a year. That's the approximate cost for Trenton. The next area for overtime, I have minimal down. We usually just have a range officer work 2 range officers work 12 hours, so only the range officer is getting overtime, so that's why it's minimal. But if we use Trenton's gun range, we have to pay for it with overtime, and I can't use forfeiture money for that overtime, so it's about $16,000 that I have to budget extra in overtime. Yes, annually. That's the reason that cost is so high. The other costs, if I could just back up a second, for the different stationary, if you will, buildings or the mobile gun range, will be used with 100% forfeiture funds. Now, for those, there are a couple of new trustees on the board. If you don't know, the forfeiture funds can only be used for certain items. They can't be used for wages, fringes, or benefits. So I've saved enough money up for the mobile range now, but I don't have enough actually to start any of these big projects. This is kind of my fund that's been keeping us going throughout the years. The problem with this is we are paying one officer out of that. We need equipment, we need other things, 1 car out of that I've been paying. So the bottom line is the mobile gun range would be 100% tax-free to the taxpayers, and will come totally out and totally out of the forfeiture funds. And also the hookup, the generator, whatever we buy for it, is 100% from the forfeiture funds. The architecture fees, as you can see, there's fees in any building you're going to build, and the gun range, obviously there isn't any Trenton, it's not applicable. The resale value, there's obviously resale to this gun range if we were to sell it down the line. I was told when we build a gun range, and Mike is here, we can talk on this if he needs to later, but I was told by people from the airport commission that if we spend $500,000 and we build a gun range out here and we rent a building, we have to give it back to the township in 20 years. So that's a hit on us also. So the next item, the maintenance fees, they're all about the same. The only difference with the mobile gun range is the footprint is smaller. So you'd be spending less in filters, you'd be spending less in cleanup if you have to. The footprint of the size of the building itself, everything is smaller, and that would be, the cost would be less per year, but there would be a maintenance fee in all of them. Now on the utilities, if you build a range, I'm going to need to get gas, electric, phone, water, and a dumpster. I'm going to have get seasick. Caught me. So anyway, with the mobile gun range, there's no utilities fee. There is not that fee either. When I have complete control on the next line there, it's more of the location, the safety and security. Not that it would be safe down here at the airport, I guess it would be, but we can't really control it. When it's at the station, we have full control over it. We have it camera, we can see it, we're there with it. There wouldn't be any problems. We've never had any problem around the station in the impound. We've never had anything stolen out of the impound, as far as I know, ever. So obviously the only yes on that would be the mobile gun range. Could you rent it out? Yes, we built a building, or we had the mobile gun range. You could recoup some of the money in both instances for renting it to other agencies. That's not a problem. All of them can do that. Now, another problem that I had was the cost overrun. I'm told with any construction cost, there's about a 20% overrun. It should be built in for that. I'm not exactly sure if that's a correct figure. Sometimes it goes way over there, and obviously it is what it is with the mobile gun range. The 310 or whatever we pay, and then plus the power source, that is what it is. That's a set price. The durability, they started building their gun ranges in the 80s. They're still out there, so I'm not sure what they get in them. They've gotten some up to 30 years right now that are still working. A building, obviously, you get around 30 years just because things, obviously, it's kind of not as quick as how computers change, but the equipment changes, better things come out, the turnover. So that was the matrix, and obviously what it shows here, there's no doubt that the mobile gun range beats it in every way. Cost, no rental fee. Another big thing was no utilities. So the overall cost definitely beat the other ways to go. And on Trenton Gun Range, you say, why don't we go there and we just rent it for $500 a year? But that $16,000 comes from tax-paying dollars out of my budget I have to pay every year. We have to add to the budget just for overtime because I can't pay it with forfeiture. So what is that? In 10 years, $160,000. In 20 years, was it $320,000? So you're looking at a lot of money that you're spending in all these different areas, and I think the biggest bang for the buck is the mobile gun range, the way to go for Grosse Ile. The company itself, I'm sorry you couldn't hear what they were talking about on the video, but Meggitt, they have installed 12,000 gun ranges across the world. Some of their clients that they have the U.S. Navy, which has 100 of these mobile gun ranges, and LAPD has 18. I talked to a police chief in New York, and they have 3,000 individuals in their police department, and they have one of these. And what they say is perfect about it is they put it wherever they want it in their city, and they have different This isn't New York City, though. It's actually a county police department. So they put it at their different precincts, and the officers throughout the shifts can just stop in, qualify. And again, he saves all kinds of overtime because he just has to pay the range officers to be there. But they're already getting paid to be there anyway, so he pays no overtime. They were very happy with it. I went over the sound test. I was concerned about that. What it would sound like being, there's some houses near the police station, and it was amazing how quiet it actually was. Again, we went down to Georgia. We saw everything. We talked to them. We were very happy with what we saw and what they showed us. I think our next step, I was talking, and Eric even suggested that I believe the next step would possibly be just to go to the Planning Commission to see what they thought about putting that at the police station. I'm not sure if that's a necessary step or if the police department, I'm not going to say we're exempt. I'm more than happy to go in front of them out of both respect and the right thing to do, just to make sure we're all set with this, to see what they think. But we'll talk that over. But that's basically it. And again, the video, it was explaining more about the company and what it was. But I hope you have an understanding now of what you're looking at, what it's for, what it's used for, and the different costs. So if there's any questions.
Just to add a little bit on the history, Chief. So in 2008, when the new board came in, we decided that the old gun range, which is on the east side of Hangar 1, was basically started when the Navy left the building. That we needed to condemn that side of the building for the condition that was in, the water leaks, the lead, just the issues that building had. So in 2009, we ended up closing that gun range down. So the police have been operating in their own gun range up until 2009, where we had to shut it down, which is when they have been forced to go to Trenton. And luckily, Trenton, at least for the time being, is letting us use their range when we need to qualify. So that just brings up a little bit of the history for the people who weren't on board on where this is at. So the Police Commission and the Airport Commission have been studying sites for a new gun range ever since. When we first started studying in the 2009 time period, these mobile ranges were around $500,000. Cost of renovating Hangar 1 was between $500,000 and $1.4 million. So there's been an extensive amount of study, and really the reason for bringing this up to the board tonight is just to let everyone know where this is at and what the options are. Right now, it looks like our best option from a fiscal responsibility or fiscal standpoint is this mobile gun range. So this is really an attempt to bring the board up to speed with what's been going on with the gun range since we condemned it in 2009, how the police department's getting by, and what we've been planning for. and various options that we continue to study.
One of the things Eric and I discussed earlier was the incredible cost of a shooting incident if it's done improperly. It's just critically important that our police officers are well trained. We just can't afford to let that training lapse, to have them in a situation where they don't meet full qualifications. So this is an important issue.
Joe, I think this is a very unique idea. I like it. But you also mentioned revenue. Have you given any thought or talked to other police departments that have this sort of range and what
Yes,
their
I already have
potentials are?
verbal commitments from the Border Patrol, from the DEA, from a couple of separate divisions actually in the DEA, plus 2 police departments. They'd be very interested in running it, and there's a possibility that this piece of equipment could be, it was very cheap for this. We have it set up through Lions Towing to take this piece of equipment to, say, the Border Patrol station in Gibraltar, where if they have 25 officers or 30 officers, through the next few days, those officers can shoot while they're on duty with the range officers, so they don't have to pay overtime either, or have them send them to Grosse Seal.
Right.
So there's a possibility of a lot of different ways to recoup it, but I already have at least 4 verbal commitments that they would.
Is there a way to customize the truck exterior-wise from the standpoint of it being, a PR vehicle for you guys as well?
We can put whatever we want. It comes plain. We can paint it. We can decal it. We can do whatever we want to it. Yeah.
Good.
And that's one reason I was going to go to the Planning Commission. Again, I've never been in the Planning Commission for anything. For the police department, I don't know what that setup is or what we do, but if we need to go to them to see, what they would want, I'm not even sure if we're a commercial area where we're at. So it's
Special land use. So it would be reviewed under special land use.
okay. But that's one of the reasons there to see what they would want. But we can make it look any way we want. And there is ways of recouping some of the cost. Obviously, the maintenance fees, we would make sure the rent would cover everything it would cost. And they would have to pay to have it taken somewhere, not us.
Right. Great.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
a couple of questions. You answered already who pulls it. You're going to have somebody with a tractor.
Yeah, we have already talked to Lions Towing.
And you're going to include, you're going to do that, include it as a cost of rental, transportation to and from.
Yeah, if you want it in your lot, you'll pay it's only $75 they charge the police department.
I know it's a little bit more detailed. Another question. Indoor air quality? Is this thing air
Yes.
conditioned?
Actually, this, it moves the air through this at 75 feet a minute. It moves the entire air system through there. What the engineer explained to us is when you have a gun range, to have the same HVAC system in a gun range to be as clean as this system, you would have to have a much more powerful HVAC system than what comes on any gun range that you have. The smaller the footprint, they were telling me, the better it is to move that air through there and keep it cleaner. He says it's cleaner going out on the vents, and it's cleaner inside while you're shooting because of the way the system is. It apparently at 75 foot a minute isn't what you have at a gun range, and removing the entire system and recirculating that air, through that HVAC system, through start to finish.
It's air changes per hour that you calculate. I don't know what that is.
Okay, yeah, that was per minute, but he said that was because the footprints are smaller, it's only 3 lanes, and I believe it's only 100 inches wide. That is so powerful, because when we got in it, we noticed in the summertime, the blowing on it, he says you don't even need air conditioning inside of it for the summer. We do have heat and cold in it, but you don't need to run anything just because it's so cool and how fast that air is moving.
Just 2 other quick ones. Lead and brass disposal, how is that handled?
That is the new rubber trap that they have, and what you do every so often, 3-4 years, you have to clean that trap out. There's a way of maintaining the trap, and we have to rake it and do a few things to it, and that lasts longer. And then every 3 to 5 years, he said, you actually have a company come in, and that's what you would have in all these new ranges also. The company would come in, and they would clean the brass out of the, clean the lead out of the tire area, and if you need a new, I don't know what comes in.
Somebody's recycling the lead.
You could do that, yes.
Bottom line?
Yes.
And is there a possibility, if they've been around for a long period of time, that they might have used units? Just
Yes, they
curious.
do. They do have used units.
I'm not
but
suggesting you should.
I already looked at their used units, and their used units are the ones they take to all their shows, like the SHOT Show in Las Vegas has everything for building gun ranges. They've taken it to the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq. The problem with those is they're $500,000 units. They have every option on them. They put every option on their 2 units that they have just to show them to everybody. So they gave me a bid, they actually did, of about $375,000 for one of
the demos.
It's not something, yeah, I mean, they have everything on it. I mean, there's just some things on there that were...
You don't need to get that deep for me.
Yeah, I was gonna, you don't need it.
You don't need a beer can holder or anything like that.
Since we're by the police station, we will have the armor there, obviously. We also have not only the wash station for the hands and the eyes if something happens, but we have a shower there we can put you right in. I mean, there's things that, we would be exempt from, and due to the fact that it's right there, so we wouldn't need all those other rooms. But they put all kinds of stuff inside there, and it was just too expensive. And it's used, and it's been to Iraq and Afghanistan, and not quite sure how long something will last.
Thank you.
Joe, the price that you have here, is that with everything that you want on it?
Absolutely, that's with some extras at $309 now. It does say $314, but it's $309 or $310 now. Yes. Yes.
Anything else for Chief Porcelli?
Chief, how long, once you place an order, is talking about the delivery?
They said they can build it, deliver it, and set it up within 180 days. And they truck it here, obviously, from, that's included, I'm sorry, in the fee, too. I didn't put that on there. But the fee is included in the $310 to bring it up here from Sewanee. They build them in Sewanee, Georgia, at that Department of Defense contractor warehouse there.
Thanks.
Anything else for Chief? All right, good research. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, at this time, we need to consider additions, deletions to the agenda, and I will go first. I'd like to request the board to delete action item number 2, the acknowledgement of lender for the Downriver Community Conference DMA radio purchase.
Second.
Okay, second by Mrs. Smith, and the reason is we don't have the paperwork from DCC yet. Is the short version. So, questions for me on that? We're just not ready for it. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that will be deleted from the agenda. Mr. Budney?
Yes, I'd like to delete item number 5 from our action items. This item was combined with action item number 4, making action item number 5 unnecessary.
Seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. Any questions for Mr. Budney on that? All right, with none offered, those in favor of deleting action item 5 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Any other additions, deletions to the agenda? All right, with none offered, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Posias, seconded by Mr. Budney. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. Consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 13-025, which consists of the minutes of the February 11th, 2013 regular meeting and the check register dated February 22nd, 2013.
Support.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Budney. Comments, questions from the board? With none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. This consent agenda stands approved. This time we will step to a public hearing. I'll invite Mr. Rooney.
As you know, we're fortunate every year to receive funding to the community through the federal government. It's managed by Wayne County, the Community Development Block Grant Program. And this year they're expecting the same amount, $61,864. There's limitations on the money. Activities funded by CDBG must meet at least one of the following 3 criteria. benefit low to moderate income persons, address the prevention or elimination of slum and blight, or meet community development needs stemming from a declared state of emergency. I have 4 projects we're proposing. The last several years, there's been airport projects on there, and currently 2010, 2011, there's still $37,180 from 2010, $36,652 from 2011. We're not talking about those tonight, but I just want to let you know that that money is still there. I attended a meeting in Trenton last week where all the communities go, and either Wayne County recaptures it or you get an extension. We do have an extension on the $37,000 and $36,000 through September. And I've submitted several projects for that money that would come back to before we do anything with that, that had to be decided by the Township Board. And then this year, the current year we're in, there's $36,000 or $33,680 the airport hasn't spent, so that would be $107,512. And Mike would probably be able to give you more detail what's going on with that. But this year's funds, the 61 are separate. I have listed, it's very vital to senior programming. You're only supposed to be able to use 10%, but our hope is every year other communities in that Wayne County pot don't go for senior programs, they may go for sidewalks or other type of projects. And so last year we were going for 24, I think we're at 22.6, and so that's going to be a little under coming in. Vital to our program, Senior Alliance, I put in $1,750 for that. We help Senior Alliance run their programs, and then in turn they provide some really great services, and those are detailed in your packet. Planning would be another one. Once again, 10% of your funding can be used for planning. This Thursday we have the Historical Society coming to talk about the waterfront park, some of the things they presented during the public hearings on the importance of that area, the historical part. And then next month, Mr. Thiel's coming from the Conservancy on the plannings that they have discussed during the process when Dale and Pete were heading up that committee. They're coming back through now. So you'd have those 2 meetings with key community groups, the Historical Society, the Conservancy, and in July this funding would become available. I think we'd have a lot of input on that information. So it'd be nice to have, not spend any more than that, but use our planning firm to go over ADA issues, possible parking scenarios. So when we go to really get that part going, we've looked at all the factors. So I'd like to use that if possible starting in July. And this has been talked with the Rec Commission. And then ADA improvements at the park, Centennial Farm. The front portion of the building, the activity buildings where the ADA is, that's existing asphalt that's been there since before the township purchased the farm, and that's getting a little bit, it's deteriorating. The sides where the exits are, we'd like to do a little work there, and then as you go out to the yard in the back in the pavilion, there'd be some ADA accessibility. I think we could use all 29 if you were wondering about that parking area and what we're going to use all that money for. But that's what's up there tonight. It can be changed if the airport has projects or there's other projects in the community. You might think it's pretty hard to spend the money in Grosse Ile. It's based on the overall population income level, and some things that some communities can do in parks, we can't necessarily do that. Or it's just kind of rough. I wish they'd revise some of those rules.
So you hit us with a lot of numbers, Tim.
Yeah, 61,000. The several you've seen before, they help run the department, and our senior, well, over half, close to half is for seniors.
And what strings come with these grants, if any?
There's really, we've been doing it for years. There's nothing that's really come back that we can't follow as far as guidelines and rules. The basics are those 3 areas. If you look at number 1, resident low to moderate income, they put ADA in that category. That qualifies, and that's one area we've really hit hard and helped in several areas. I can name playgrounds at the schools, walkways between the school, parking lots, access paths at Water's Edge.
As our population gets older, and I'm thinking from the dare I say, geriatric standpoint, but, as our residents become older, mobility becomes an issue. There's just no way around that. So to maintain access to all of our public recreation facilities, I think is important, if this can fund it. One constraint talking about the Historical Society and the beach, if we use grant money for that, it opens it. Right now, since it was done strictly with township funds, it is we can do whatever we want with it. It's a township function. If we take grant funds, then we open it up to the general population. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. That's just what comes with public funds is public access. Right now, that's our beach. We can restrict, if we want, to township residents. If we take grant funding, we have to open it up to anyone.
Right. I listed 9 projects for that additional money that I was trying to save before we lose it. I did highlight the foundations, not all the foundations down below. As far as removing blight, that will probably I'm pretty close to sure that's going to qualify.
Good.
So we could take a barge over there and rip that stuff out and smooth that beach out. There's 8 other projects that I think, before I get too far, there's one that I think would really surprise everyone that we're very close on, that I've been working on for a while. But it's don't surprise me. Yeah, it's close. I've got to take some pictures of the sites.
Okay.
But over the last couple of months, the county's been a little easier to work with, and the response time has been wonderful. So I'm not saying they'll all go through, but there's 9 that I'd like to bring back to the board if the airport can't find use for it. But we would have lost, $60,000, $70,000 if we hadn't, extended that deadline. So, but those are the ones we're talking about tonight, are the $61,000 that are here.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Rooney, now that we're apprised of what he's got in plan for $61,000? I'd hate to lose it. I mean, any improvements we can make into this community, we certainly send enough tax money out. I like seeing some of it come back to improve our community. Questions from the board? Any questions from the public for Mr. Rooney? Mr. Janowski.
Ron Janowski, Grow Road. We're talking about that beach over on East River. Is that what we're talking about?
That is one of the potential.
Because we spent township money to build that rather than...
well, because we spent only township money.
Yeah. In about 10 years, I'm going to probably start getting older, and I might have a little bit of time to go down there. And if I don't walk so good, how do I get down there? Has there been any provisions for the handicap to use that public area that the township paid for?
Okay, not yet, but that's one of the things we'd like to see. I would like to see.
Who's working on that? Is anybody working on that?
Right now? I don't know. Tim, was that part of your grant funding, was to improve ADA access there?
Well, trying to look ahead, because, when the board assigned it to the Recreation Department, the commission's been working on it. Project 7A of the 9 projects. Accessibility to proposed waterfront park, ADA improvements and removal of architectural barriers. After taking ownership of the Wayne County property and removing the majority of the blight and debris, which we want to do with this, the old decrepit cement stairs leading to the waterfront was covered with new staircase. Currently, wheelchair access is not possible to the site. The use of block grant funds would make this possible. Future planning sessions will include accessibility on the site. So that's very important, whether the board wants to go with that, like you said, at least we're looking into it.
Well, because down the road, there is a ramp that was built to get down to that, I don't know if it's a private marina, I think it's a marina that is used by the apartment buildings or the condominiums or home in East River. And actually, I'm not sure I'd want to take a wheelchair down there unless I got pretty good brakes on it, but it is accessible. Maybe dangerous, but accessible. And it's doable. But, I said this before when we started on this project, and the Boy Scouts were going to do this, that, maybe we should have thought about it a little more in depth and had some plans there, because now if we're going to change that, now we've got a whole new expensive project to work on. The other thing is, Blaine, I don't know if this community development block grant program would apply to this, but on Rio Road we've had some abandoned buildings over there with doors open, windows out, and virtually falling apart. Who owns that property?
I can't say out of memory. We
I
know
thought about that, but I think it's private, and I'm not sure.
those are privately held. We're working through that with legal, and we're slowly but surely through the courts and through the legal system making progress. I just, I don't have any of that information.
We're not going to take any more time than Detroit does with trying to get rid of their abandoned buildings.
I can't say.
I mean, I've owned a piece of property over there for 20 years, and it's been like that. So it's been 20 years, and the only thing I can think of is no one's really thinking about it.
We are thinking about it regularly. I talk to the fire marshal regularly on that. It is a concern, but we have to follow the laws. We can't arbitrarily go in and start knocking things down that we don't own. So we're aware of it. We're aware.
Are the taxes paid on that property?
Like Mr. Johnski, we're aware of it. We're doing what we can to move the process forward. I don't have that information in front of me.
Well, does anybody here, I mean, everybody here has been in this township for a long, long time on commissions and participating in government. I don't think it's an unreasonable question. Maybe you don't.
All right, Mr. Janoski, I did because I already told you, I don't have that data in front of me. We're aware of it.
Ask around, we got people here, Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed is...
All right, Mr. Janoski, please, let's take your seat. We know where you stand. You know where we stand. We're addressing it through legal processes.
Where does it stand in legal process then?
I don't have the chain of events in front of me. We've been working on, Mr. Enough. Thank you for your input. We are working on it, Mr. Janoski. Trust me. That's all I have in front of me. Moving along. That does complete our. Any other questions for Mr. Rooney? Okay, that'll conclude our public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Rooney. And we'll move into action items now. From the Rec Department, let's see.
Would you like me to read that?
I would, Mr. Malvesta. Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Supervisor, action item number one. This is proposed motion or recommendation action to authorize, to adopt, to approve the Groseal Township Board grants approval to seek funding from Wayne County Community Development Division for the following 2013-2014 community development block grant projects. Number one would be Township, would be a senior program at $24,000, senior alliance program at $1,750, planning at $6,186, ADA improvements at the Centennial Farm at $29,928 for a total of $61,864.
Need support.
Support.
Seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. We could review, but I think Mr. Rooney gave us a pretty good idea on the history and background on this project. What our requirement now will be to discuss among the board and decide, do we want to move forward with this with the attached resolution? Any other, I mean, we had our opportunity to query Mr. Rooney on the program, Community Development Block Grant Program, where the money's coming from, where we'd like to see it go, total of about $61,000 for improvements in the community, tax dollars coming back in. Comments from the board?
All I can say is that anytime we can get grant block money like this to improve, in this case, senior programs, ADA improvements at the Centennial Farm, which in a large part is used by the seniors on Groseal, not just seniors, but widely by them, and then the planning costs that go into it. Whenever we can get outside money to help pay for this sort of thing, it's just the way to go.
Great. Another improvements to the community and to our beach. Kim's been working on that. Other comments from the board? Okay, before we vote, I'll open it. Comments to the public present. You can. Okay. With none offered, those in favor of approving the approval to seek funding from Wayne County Community Development Division for the following, the aforementioned 2013/14 Community Development Block Grant projects, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? The motion passes. You'll have the resolutions. Do you want to resolution to sign, and we'll just move on with this project. Mr. Rooney, thank you for the presentation. Things are just getting better. All right, let's move to action item number 3.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the proposed lot split number 379 for parts of lots 3 and 4 Golfview Estates, conditioned upon the township engineer review and approval of the resulting survey drawing and legal descriptions.
Okay, looking for support on the lot split from Mr. Anker. Okay, seconded by Trustee Budney.
So
background.
So from a background standpoint, the Grosville Rowing Club and the West Shore Golf and Country Club entered into a purchase agreement for a vacant portion of West Shore's property. The agreement is contingent upon approval for the lot split, whereby parts of lots 3 and 4 of Golfview Estates would be split to create a parcel for purchase by the rowing club. On October 23, 2012, the ZBA granted variance for the lot area and parking lot setbacks related to the lot split. And on February 3, 2013, the Planning Commission reviewed the request and took action recommending that the Township Board approve the lot split request with condition that the Township Engineer review and approve the resulting survey drawings and legal descriptions. All of that said, the West Shore Golf and Country Club is looking to partner with Grosville Rowing Club, split off a very a small portion of the property so that the rowing club could potentially build a rowing facility. It's important to note that there's really 3 steps in this process. So the first step was for the rowing club in West Shore to go to the ZBA and get a couple of variances, which were granted. The second step is the lot split, and then the third step would be a special land use. So the lot split, all it does is legally split the lot, so West Shore could sell it to whoever they wanted to sell it to. So by approving the lot split, you're approving nothing more tonight than splitting that lot so that West Shore could sell it to another party, or they could keep it for themselves. Any kind of a rowing club that would be put up there would be subject to a special land use, which is a part of the zoning ordinance. So that would be a separate meeting. So there's a resolution and findings of fact from the Grosville Planning Commission where we went through and we reviewed the lot split against the ordinances, and at the end of the day, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the lot split, and 7-0 vote.
Okay. Any other questions for Clerk Ranka on the Planning Commission action requesting the lot split? All right. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Malvesto.
So I just want to get this straight. This is strictly to authorize the splitting of the property. This has nothing to do with the purchase of the property or building of any structure for the rowing club.
No, well, obviously this is leading towards that's their eventual goal, but approving this does nothing more tonight than split that property.
So the only discussion would be on the split.
The only discussion tonight legally is on the split.
Thanks.
Other questions for Mr. Ranka? Any questions from the public present? Mr. Clark?
Ready to start here?
You're hot now.
Okay, good. Woody Clark, Park Lane. Anyway, are we going to come back when you're going to build something?
Yeah, so what will happen next is if the lot split goes through, the rowing club will have, they'll have to figure out what they're going to do from a financial standpoint, and then they'll have to get what they call site plan approval. So yacht clubs, rowing clubs, things like this in a residentially zoned area are subject to site plan approval. So it will come before the Planning Commission. Planning Commission will review the proposed use. In this case, potentially it's a rowing boat club, and the Planning Commission will go through the zoning acts of how special land use applies. Okay. They will then make a recommendation to the Township Board, and then the Township Board has an
So they'll come back up here for when you get to the building problem.
Yes.
Not problem, but process.
Sure.
Okay. Because I'm hearing a lot of things going, they're going to build it on the river, or they're going to carry the boats across the road to the water.
Yep, separate discussion, all stuff that the Planning Commission will review in public hearing.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other questions or comments from the public? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the lot split previously defined by Clerk Ranka, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? Thank you. The lot split is approved. The process continues. Action item number 4 and 5.
We got rid of 5.
Right, well.
Yeah. I have a motion to accept with regret the resignation of Mr. David Nadeau from the Public Service Commission effective February 25th, 2013, and to approve the appointment of Mr. James Nelson to the Public Service Commission for the term length of February 25th, 2013 to March 31st, 2014, based upon the recommendation of the Public Service Commission.
Support.
Okay, motion by Trustee Budney and supported. I heard Ted Van Oss first, so I'll give it to Treasurer Van Oss. Background?
Little background. David just joined our commission a couple of months ago. He's had his house up for sale for quite some time. His actual plan was to sell the house, buy something on the island. It didn't work out that way. He's moving off the island, and so he needed to resign. We had the application of Mr. Nelson. We looked it over. We talked to him, and we would be pleased to have him on the commission.
Okay, other questions, comments for Mr. Budney?
Mr. Budney,
Yes, sir.
what was the detail of that conversation? Who reviewed the application, and was it presented to your entire commission?
The DPS commission, the chairperson, myself as liaison, and we asked Ted to talk to him, looked it over, and made the decision. That's the way the DPS commission works.
I have issues with that, but we'll discuss that after the meeting.
It's kind of an ongoing issue on non-uniformity on commission committee appointments. I think it's something, it's not going to be addressed tonight, but it's something we need to work on in the future. I think we're pretty much in agreement that we need to take a deeper look at that. This is one of the few meetings Jim Nelson isn't at.
Yeah.
Hasn't attended for some reason.
In fact, I had talked to him, and he said he was going to be here, so I don't know why he isn't.
Once again, sir, it has nothing to do with Mr. Nelson. I know him, and he's an upstanding guy.
So, all right, the comments from the board. Any comments from the public present? All right, with none offered, 2 parts. First, I guess we did roll them into one, though, to accept with regret Mr. Nadeau's resignation and to welcome Mr. Nelson on board the Public Service Commission. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, was it an A or was it an I? Okay, I wanted to make sure. So thank you, Mr. President, thank you, board, and welcome. Thank you, Mr. Nadeau, and thank you, Mr. Nelson, for stepping up. That completing our action items, we'll step to the clerk's report.
Mr. Supervisor, just for the board to note that the Miss Gray will be in training second week in March for a few days for the Michigan Association of Clerks. I had my training here about 3 weeks ago. From a Planning Commission and update standpoint, next Planning Commission meeting is March 4th, Police Commission meeting March 12th, and then regarding the deeper look into how the board has a unified agreement on looking into commission liaisons. I know that Trustee Smith and I have been working back and forth on some documents, and with some recent activities that's taken a back seat that we need to look back into again. That's it for clerk's report today.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Renka. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. January investment information is not complete yet, but you can get a investment sheet from my office at any time, and that will certainly help you. They will be available at the next board meeting. All unpaid 2012 summer and winter tax bills are due by March 1st. That's summer and winter. To avoid delinquency payments, To avoid delinquency, payments will be taken here at Township with a late penalty only until Friday at 5 p.m. Beginning on March 2nd, all unpaid 2012 property tax bills will be considered delinquent and must be paid at Wayne County with further penalty and interest. And I strongly urge anybody that's listening to avoid that trip. That is an experience. If you need any help or questions regarding delinquent taxes, call the Township Deputy Treasurer, who's Annette Wordsmith at extension 232. She'll help you. If you have any personal questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. Our next Airport Commerce Park Commission meeting will be the third Monday of, we are going to hold one, right, of March. Look forward to seeing you there. I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Move on to trustee reports. Mr. Marvesto.
No, actually, Mr. Rooney gave us all the updated news on rec department, and as well as Chief Murdoch. So I have nothing this evening.
Okay, Mr. Budney.
Yeah, nothing much new with the DPS. We were looking over budget. Everything seems to be budget right now. Our next meeting is March 12th, Tuesday, and tomorrow we have a ZBA meeting, and as usual I would encourage everybody here and out there to come to the meetings, come to your commission meetings, come to the board meetings and see how your township runs. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. Communications Commission, our next meeting is March 13th at 7 p.m. We have had 2 work sessions recently to go over the proposals for a new website. Several more meetings are planned with dates and times of 2/28 at 7 p.m. here at Township Hall, and then 3/2 at 10 a.m. here at Township Hall. I encourage everybody to come on out and provide us feedback or lend us their technical expertise. Additionally, as far as the Communications Commission is concerned, Ted Fournier, in conjunction with another gal, Marie, and I cannot remember her last name, but produced a 30-minute video on Voight's Bridge, and it is actually airing on GITV. I recommend everybody take a look at it. It's very interesting. It gives a great historical perspective of the bridge and how it's come to be with the GI Bridge Company. As far as the Festival Commission, our next meeting is March 20th at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, I have some sad news to report, as during the recent holiday season, Mr. Brian Johnson, a member of the Grosse-Ile Festival Commission, passed away after a lengthy illness. Brian served many years as the auditorium manager for Grosse-Ile High School. During Brian's 5+ years with the commission, he coordinated all the technical aspects of the entertainment, including sound, lighting, and staging. Mr. Johnson brought years of knowledge and experience to the Festival Commission. His business had the status of being known as one of the premier sound and lighting companies in Detroit. He's going to be missed, and it's unfortunate that I have to report this news. That's it.
He will be missed, and just keep his family in your thoughts and prayers.
Exactly.
I assume there's that, you wrap up your report on that note.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mr. President.
Bringing up the rear. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about a special long-term project, the Horse Mill Bike Path. This has been a culmination of 3 years of work by a lot of people, and I will take no credit for all of that work. It has been done by people like Brian Pollock, our chairman, Jane Fiegel, Alan Valiquette, Rob Eldridge, Jim Budney, Barry, Gary Bailey, Ted Van Oss, Dale Riem, and the conversations about this bike path have been incredible and convoluted and difficult. I think this is the longest single deliberation for a bike path, but we are looking like we're at the end of the path from talk to action. I have in your board a document that says, in your board packet, it says after review and unanimous support of the completed horse mill bike plans. The Grosvenor Bike and Pedestrian Commission requests that the completed proposed horse mill bike path plans be forwarded to the Grosvenor Township Board for prior review to the scheduled 3/11/2013 board meeting. The Grosvenor Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Commission requests that the finished plans for the path be considered by the Township Board as a discussion item on the 3/11/2013 agenda. Final paragraph says that several key members involved in the planning process will be in attendance at this scheduled board meeting, and they are. Brian is here, Jane is here, Ellen's here, Aaron's here, I'm here. And I felt like trying to keep up. You ever see the movie where the train is going 80 miles an hour and a guy on a horse is trying to catch it? That's the way this bike path group has worked. They're incessant and they're fast and they don't ever stop. And they put together a great deal of effort. So I'd like you to let Brian come to the podium and give you a little bit of a presentation and see if we can answer any questions for this board and for this community.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you much for those kind words. I appreciate it. And in the spirit of trying to catch everyone up here, I've got a quick presentation about the horse mill bike path. So essentially, this came about back in 2009 when the former Township Board put together a bike path committee in order to utilize existing bike path millage funds for construction funds, as well as put input into the recreation master plan. And during that process, we identified many needs, including the horse mill path. And later on, the board actually approved action to proceed with the horse mill path, so we looked into bids. This is just a very quick overview of a variety of the paths that we looked at. All of them, except for the horse mill, seem to have either cost prohibition problems because of cost or because of political issues or both. So we decided to move ahead with the horse mill path, which would connect with the Meridian path, on the south side of Horse Mill up to Thoroughfare, crossing at Thoroughfare, and then going on the north side up until Park Lane. We thought that that made sense because, for one thing, this is open space, so it looked at as we're hoping that it would be a quicker process, less political in nature because we're going through right-of-way, and we have one property owner, the Township of Grosvenor, as well as its east-west connection. And there was a path coming up, a sidewalk coming up Park Lane, and there's thoughts that in the future we might be able to provide some sort of facility to connect that up to Horse Mill, as well as there was some sort of wishes to have some sort of facility on East River in the future. So we thought this was a logical case to move forward. Unfortunately, we hit some roadblocks along the way. One of them was that there was higher than anticipated construction costs, as well as their scope creep based on Wayne County's mandate for drainage improvements. So because of that, we needed to look at two things, either increasing the available funds or reducing the costs. So we looked at both options. So this year we applied for the Transportation Alternatives Program grant, and we were very competitive, but unfortunately we did not win that grant application. But the other path is we were looking at ways of decreasing costs. So the township and Rains Engineering, as well as the low bidder for the horse mill path, the Compo, had a meeting earlier this month, and they talked about concessions from Wayne County as far as their fees, as well as the utilization of drainage funds from the DPS process. So taking that at that word, we felt that that would essentially get us to the place where we could actually construct this. So Mr. Posiak asked that we bring this to you guys tonight to discuss the actual project, and in the coming days you shall receive official plans as well as an official source of where all the funds are coming from for this path. And then at the next meeting, we're hoping that you'd consider an action on the actual bike path. So after that, if you guys have any questions based on this overview or anything else, we're all here. We'd love to answer your questions.
I have a question. As far as the drainage funds, I think you might want to put this off until the last meeting, because at the DPS, what we agreed to was to pay for the horse mill Park Lane problem. We hadn't agreed to pay for all the drainage. So that should actually be brought back in front of the commission if that's what you're, what you're planning on.
We'll double check on that, and if that's the case, then we'll definitely come back. Thank you.
Yeah, as I recall, Barry?
I know there was discussion at the commission level, and there was some funds allocated, and
The discussion, as I recall, was just for the Horse Mill Park Lane problem by the Presbyterian Church. It wasn't for the full length of Meridian to Park Lane.
Okay.
So that has to be looked at by the commission.
Definitely. I want to make sure we get make sure we have all the funding before we proceed, so thank you very much.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, I'm all in favor of this bike path for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's a pretty good choice for that location. The least obtrusive, the least hassle with the residents. Secondly, we've already buried a truckload of money in it, just getting ready to do it. I would hate to see that money literally go into a drawing file someplace and never be used, because it's big. It's a big number. But I think before we move forward any further, before you bring it before us, you need to get a couple of meetings together. Number one, we need to get Ann, Barry, and Dale probably in the same room and get exact numbers, because we're kind of shooting from the hip here. I think this commission, this board will be more than willing to support it as long as we've got all our ducks in a row coming forward. So we need to have that meeting, Ann, so that we know exactly what kind of drainage funds, and it needs to get done fairly quickly, because if we want to move forward with this spring, which we need to bid on quickly, we need to get the DPS commission on board with the drainage. I think the drainage fund is applicable here for those drainage issues. Now, granted, most of the drainage problems are Wayne County's. We know they're not going to do them, so we're going to have to step up and do them. We have the funds available. But it's imperative that we move quickly and get the financing right, get the people right, because I think you have the support of this board. But we need to do it fairly quickly, otherwise we're going to miss the bid process.
And we share the same concerns as you guys have as far as making sure that we have, the appropriate funds in place. And some of us have, we just wanted to bring this before you so that way you guys were aware of it. And in this meantime, we're going to make sure that we get everything official and taken care of. So rest assured.
Good job.
Thank you.
just as an FYI, the bid process is already taking place.
Bid process is taking place, or it has taken place.
That's correct. We have a bid in place. And as Ted alluded to, there is some urgency in getting the bid, getting the project approved, and it's because of construction issues in early spring that it would be very advantageous for us to get it done that way. Now, I will point out that it says here, number 2, review official plans and funding sources. The idea tonight was to make sure that everybody recognizes that this is not just coming from one pot. We'll sit down with Dale and DPS and Barry, and we'll come up with suggestions, and wherever these commissions and committees are comfortable with supplying funds, we'll say we got enough.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian, and thanks, Commission. Nice job, everyone.
This is obviously an excellent summary of where the commission's at. You guys are obviously about 99.5% of the way there. You just got a couple more I's to dot and T's to cross, but I think I'm confident that you guys will take it the rest of the way. I'm glad that you brought it as far as you have. The one important note is that the one fatality that we've had, pedestrian fatality, actually on the island, was on Horse Mill. So it was another reason for this location. But you guys have done a great job, and we're almost there, and excited to see it back here at the board.
All right, Mr. Pollack, thank you. Mr. Posey, ask other portions of your trustee report.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Gray.
Mr. Supervisor, may I ask Mr. Pollack to provide me with this presentation by email, please?
Sure. Consider him asked. Okay, let's see, that concludes the trustees. I guess it's up to me. Supervisors report. Some odds and ends tonight. AARP, these are available in the back of the room. The AARP is still offering free tax assistance for the 2012 Michigan federal tax returns. Flyers are available in the back of the room. We have them at Township Hall. I think here is what it looks like. Again, they're on the little podium in the back of the room where you can, like I said, get one from Township Hall. Downriver Community Conference 2013 Energy Assistance Program for those who qualify. That flyer is also available in the back room. It looks like this. And it has the qualification numbers on the back, so to see if you qualify. Let's see, the Daddy Daughter Dance was a success. The Easter egg hunt will be Saturday, March 23rd at Water's Edge. It's a lot of fun. That flyer is also available. It's in the back room. It looks like this. And those tickets are available at the rec department. Should get them in advance because last year there was just a gang of kids there. It was kind of not a bright sunny spring day, but there was still a gang of kids there. We have Wayne County Health on Wheels mobile unit. That flyer looks like this. It will be at the Guidance Center on Wednesday, February 27th, 12 to 4. That flyer looks like this. And Wayne County, again, hazardous waste collection, stuff that you should put in your trash cans for waste management to pick up. That includes some of the things like mercury thermometers, fire extinguishers, automotive batteries, antifreeze motor oil, gasoline, nail polish, stuff that we don't want to surprise our waste management contract people with. And there's a few dates. The next one coming up is April 13th at Redford Public Services. That's just too far away. The next close one, Henry Ford Community College, is in June. And Westland Shopping Center, Southland Shopping Center is not till October. So I guess if you want to get rid of this stuff cleanly and legitimately, you might just have to go out to Redford Public Services. We'll see if we can't do better than that. And that is going to complete my supervisor's report. I'll turn it over to the township manager.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have a few brief comments, but I'd like to start by saying I only bring these comments up because, by way of status, not because the squeaky wheel deserves the grease. Simply put, we've been working on projects for quite some time, and I'd like to reference the Railroad project. Without going into the past year and a half of history, about a month ago, legal had finalized our notice. Department of Community Development did a follow-up inspection. We're in the process of scheduling that hearing. There's a hearing process that we need to follow by ordinance, a very detailed hearing process. So once that process takes place, the hearing is held by the building official and the hearings officer. A recommendation will be made to come to this board. How that plays out, there's several different scenarios. It could be very smooth, or it could be very long drawn out and legal. And I would probably, just by my hunch, think that this is going to be more long drawn out than it would be smoothly. So we take this process very seriously, and we will be going through that. But about a month ago, we cleared our entire notice procedure with legal, so that is getting in the process of taking place. We're trying to schedule that right now. So, thank you.
We are working on it. Thank you, Dave. All right. At this time, concluding that, we're going to move to a discussion item. This board has expressed interest in changing the format of the business meetings. Different boards have different goals and objectives. And as a supervisor, it's much easier for me to work with the board to be on the same, to have us all pretty much on the same page as to how we want to run. It's even though I'm responsible for running it, it's our business meeting. It's your town hall. It's our business meeting, so we can accommodate both. We have this for a discussion item. It will involve we'll discuss it tonight. It'll involve a change in the township's policies and procedures manual eventually, but right now, and the board members have this, our business meetings are operated on, it's basically in a slight adaptation of the previous schedule. The only additions I made to it were to include the trustee reports. Those were not handled by the previous board. Unfortunately, the remaining order of business in the that still exists in the P&P manual had public comment at the beginning of the meeting, public comment during the meeting, public comment at the end of the meeting, and again, no opportunity for trustee reports. I thought the trustee reports were important to let you know what the trustees are doing through their liaisons and just their general contributions to the community. I proposed a change in agenda to the previous board, got a little feedback on it, so I guess they were happy with how we were doing things. But this board has expressed other interest. I put a couple of feelers out. I got responses from board members. I got timely comments from Deputy Clerk Gray that will help make this, I think, even better. And what I'm proposing, and I guess I'll see if I can ask Dale, if he would, or so, to put this on the overhead so that the public present can see. Sorry to, if we can put that on the overhead, please, so that the public present and those at home can see what we're considering. And I'll go through some of the logic behind it. First of all, it's obviously call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, our standard procedure. Public hearing, those have to be posted. There is a time frame in advance. I think some of them require 10 days. It depends on the funding source, if it involves a funding source, but there are legal hoops for public hearings. They have to be part of a meeting, but they're a separate portion of the meeting. So those would be probably the first thing, because those have a hard scheduling criteria. From there, again, this is just a proposal. We would step to presentations. Presentations are usually scheduled. They can be added because we offer the opportunity for political candidates to introduce themselves, and that may be on an ad hoc basis. So primarily, if we have one that is scheduled, that would go first, but we do offer the floor to candidates, or if something pops up that we need to have presented at a meeting for one reason or another, we can add that. That would be next before we get into the gist of the meeting. And then things we have to do is to work on the agenda. So we would go to additions, amendments, and approve the agenda. And I think this is where Mrs. Gray thought it would be a good idea to bring in some public comment. Of course, I messed this up because I meant to put in the consent agenda immediately after this, so if you would put in item F1, and Microsoft Word bites me again when they bullet inputs. So anyway, brief public comment, limited to the day's agenda items. You have access to our agenda. You have access to all our board packets. What we have in front of us is all online. It's all available to you. You can make your comments on what you would like us to consider prior to action items, prior to amending the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. Okay, again, now you know what we know, basically, in plenty of time to research, learn what you want to learn, and make your comments, brief comments, and I haven't decided on a time limit. Nobody has offered me, but possibly 2 minutes to make a comment on agenda items for that day. Then we move on to the consent agenda, followed and run that just as we do now, same constraints. Then action items, the reports, clerk's report, treasurer's report, the trustees, the supervisors, township manager. We would go into discussion items after that, as we did today, followed by public comment on any topic. You could beat us up on an action item or something that you would just like to see brought up. But this, again, it's public comment. It's stump the dummy. Yeah, you can bring up something that I'm not prepared to answer. It happens all the time. If you let me know ahead of time, I will research and have an answer for you. If you want to come and make a comment that you like the answer, you didn't like the answer, that's what the microphone's for, that's what that's for, but to ad hoc questions, I'm not going to give an answer that I'm not confident in. I'm not going to have the answer to everything that might be vexing you at a particular moment, and I think the trustees all support me in that. We don't like to be surprised. We really do. It's my intent to help. It's your town hall. I want you to leave here satisfied, but there's, we only have so much time. We're here to help. We'll try to get you answers. Much better to email, call, stop in and ask us. Give us time to research, and then if you want to bring up the issue, we'll have the ability to answer it. But surprises, I'll just say, I don't know, and that'll be it. So that is my suggestion for a new business meeting format. I think we can serve the public well and efficiently that way. Again, it's your town hall, but we're here for business. We open the door for your comments. The law says we have to allow for public comments once in accordance with established rules. These would be part of the established rules. Robert's rules would constitute the other portion of established and recorded rules. But I'm asking the board to consider this. I'm doing this as a discussion item so that those watching at home, those present tonight, will see how we may recraft our township meetings and bring it up as an agenda item at a future board meeting. Comments from the board on if this is what we want to see, if you'd like to see it changed, tweaked, or changed dramatically.
I think it's a good idea. I like what Deputy Clerk Gray provided with the change of public comment towards the beginning. I think it makes sense so that people don't have to necessarily stay through a long, drawn-out meeting if all they have to do is express an opinion. I think that this is the way to go, or at least going in the right direction.
Other comments?
I want to ask Warren, do you feel, based on that statement you just made, that the early public comment should be limited to the agenda or be on any topic?
That is a good question. I know sometimes somebody just might have a beef or want to state something publicly and get it off their chest, and that might be it. I don't necessarily feel like it has to be pertinent to the agenda.
Well, we did have two public comment periods. The first was intended to be to get the comments from the public before we vote on an action item. So I would like to, it's my idea or my intent that the first public comment period would be on action items, so we have your inputs as we discuss. Before we vote on an item, we have your inputs on it. Publicly provided inputs that are recorded. That would be restricted to action items of that board meeting only. And then public comment at the end on any topic, anything that's you want to commend us for, tell us what a great job we're doing, tell us what you'd like to see done differently, or just complain about the weather.
Yeah, but you're still going to hold people here for the whole meeting if all they want to comment on is
it's
the stars.
We also sometimes have people in here that we're paying by the hour who want to be part of the business aspect, and it is a business meeting. We could hold other meetings that were just general discussion sessions if we wanted to do that. But again, the business meeting, get business done. We have to stay here till the end. I don't say that flippantly, but if we can restrict the initial input to action items before we vote on them, before we commit to them, we are answering to the public that way. And then I just think general commentary at the end. That's my suggestion, but it's our meeting, so it's whatever we consensus on.
I have a question based on your comments then. When we get into the action items, are you going to allow public comment at every action item?
I will not. I will restrict it to that initial input, and that should allow us to control, get the job done. They will have the opportunity. We exceed the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, and we still offer the town hall approach, but we can get business done without going to the wee small hours where our abilities to make right decisions, I think, are diminished, the tireder, and we've seen plenty of meetings like that, as some of us recall, kind of chuckling. I think it'll work. I think I'd like to try it for a few meetings. and then maybe see if it is working. If the residents aren't happy, or we're not happy, we'll review it, or reopen it.
Mr. Supervisor, I think in general I'm happy with the way you've got this laid out, and I'd be fine to give this a trial. Per the treasurer's comments about brief public comment limited to the agenda items, the public comment at the beginning of the agenda I think should absolutely be specific and pertinent to the agenda items so that we can get through them in a timely manner, and then have the open public comment at the end. Right, that way people are guaranteed they can talk about the agenda items, and we're not here waiting until the wee hours in the morning to get to the action items.
Thank you, Mr. Rank. Any other comments from the board? I think, again, I'm open to suggestions. I think we do a couple of trial runs, and we'll consider this at the next board meeting. Comments from the, all right, and with that being said, I guess this one will open up public comment and see what those present think about it. So closing the discussion, moving forward, public comment. We all know the rules. 3 minutes, state your name, keep it clean. Mr. Clark.
We're still in discussion.
Just closed it.
You didn't ask for public comment on discussion.
Public comment's coming.
Bring it.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees.
Legal fees on the warrant list dated February 21st, 2013 to O'Reilly Lanciano in the amount of $1,125.
That's it? Yeah. Okay, the fire department and the police department came over to my house 3 or 4 weeks ago and took me to a hotel South Shore, and they were very good, very courteous, and really appreciate it. Did we hire another attorney?
Did we
hire another attorney?
We retained an attorney.
Another attorney for reasons?
MIOSHA expert.
MIOSHA expert, okay. Next one is, how much was the construction cost from Quarry Road down to the south of, going south, for bike path?
Okay, this is part of my comment about questions that I don't, if I knew about it ahead of time, I have the answer for you.
Okay, you have a bid process. You had a bid already. Who else was on the bid besides Campo? Because he supposedly got it.
Again, you know,
There were 3 bidders.
Okay. What was a high bid and a low bid? That's all. You picked Campo, so.
I can give you copies of that.
Okay. All right. I'll stop and see you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments, questions? Mr. Janowski.
John Janowski, Railroad. Discussion items. Isn't it in the past that when the board discussed a topic that the public was able to participate in that discussion?
Wasn't guaranteed. Wasn't guaranteed.
Well, it isn't written in the township rules and regulations that you shut the microphone off on anybody either. We can do this 2 ways, okay? We've been trying to do it the right way. And I agree with you on that public comment at the beginning for the action items, okay? But when you have an action item and you start discussing things and some wild hair ends up coming out in public and other questions are raised, shouldn't the public be able to discuss that with you? And cutting them off and just having to make a concerned statement at the beginning of the meeting doesn't necessarily have the public participate in what might be a good decision for both the board and the public. So I think that's where I agree that a short comment at the beginning concerning the action items would probably be appropriate. In the general comments at the end, which you don't like, and you just shut the microphone off, because I'm having a real problem with that, and I'm losing my patience, and I'll take legal action. You can maybe get a legal opinion on that one. It's not going to go on. You can have I'll have a reporter out here asking everybody questions when they go out to their car, because this is not the way to run a meeting. So, and I'm not gonna beat that to death. This new attorney, this Myosha, what's that all about?
And there is an MIOSHA investigation in progress, and we need specific legal help. The board felt we needed to have specific expert legal help in that area.
Are we afraid of something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're protecting our township dollars.
Okay. Thirdly, you seem to take everything, these questions, personally. I see the treasurer, I see the clerk, the assistant, or the deputy clerk. We have a township manager, we have a DPS manager. We have all the official people that we pay handsomely to know the answers to certain questions. Like, I'll bet you I couldn't get the price of wholesale water from the city of Detroit, and yet you just had a study session about what we're going to do with the water rates and how that's going to affect us. And yet I'll bet you there isn't anybody in this room that can tell me what the wholesale water rates are from the city of Detroit.
I can tell you by this time tomorrow. I can tell you by noon tomorrow.
What did these people do yesterday? What did they do? Well, yesterday was Sunday. I'm sorry. What have they been doing? Like Rio Road, for the 20 years that I lived in this area, okay, I never hear anybody talking about who's responsible for Rio Road, what department, of anything that would go on, or the legal ramifications of what's going on there. Who would know if the taxes are paid there? Who would know who owns that? If this is the discussion, and Mr. Reeves said, well, in recent history, they've been looking into that. Are the taxes paid there?
I believe they are, yeah.
Okay, and it's privately owned?
Yes.
Okay, well, there we go. We got an answer. You turned the microphone off on me. You shouldn't take things personal. I mean, I'm talking to you because you're running the meeting, but it's your responsibility. If I have a police question, ask the chief of police. If I have a fire question.
Okay, again, Mr. Janowski.
Well, I'm just giving you suggestions.
Okay.
Okay, do you understand? Any questions for me?
I understand.
Huh? Any questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Janowski. Mr. Ream.
Mr. Supervisor.
Related to the discussion of the item on the agenda structure, that's one of the things that I think is important to discuss. Do we want this to be a question and answer session? Myself, other managers, there are a lot of things that, yes, we know we can answer off the top of our heads, but there's also a lot of things that we may not be able to. And of course, I think it was referenced earlier that if you sit in the audience, you start thinking of different things and start wanting to ask different questions. And of course, sometimes those thought processes and way of organization of thoughts don't necessarily follow a logical pattern. And I think those are the types of things where, for me as an administrator, see where the meetings have started to get away. But I've attended a lot of different meetings with a lot of different communities, and they do not, for reasons of this is a business meeting sake, allow question and answer. It's public comment, not public debate. That's a whole different philosophy than what we've been used to, and I think that's the main question that we need to address in relationship to how we're going to structure the business meetings, and those are just my thoughts.
And I agree with you almost wholeheartedly. If I can answer a question, I certainly would like to, but that opens up to all those questions I can't answer on the spur of the moment that nobody else can answer. And again, we have plenty of avenues of communication to me, to all the members of the board. If you have a question, ask us sometime before the meeting. And if you don't get the answer you like or you get ignored, bring that up as a public comment. I try to answer all my phone calls. I try to get answers to people. I know I've failed a few times, but I think my percentage is pretty high, and I think the rest of the trustees are the same mindset. But I can always come up with a question that no one can answer. Anybody here could do that. So public comment, again, ask us the question. Give us time to research it. We'll get an answer to you. If you think we let you down, make that part of the public comment. Or if we gave you the answer you wanted and you're happy, say thanks in public comment. That'd be nice also. So,
1 second? I gotta have a second left out of that 3 minutes.
Actually, you were about 40 seconds over, but just for you, Mr. Janowski, because I've only cut the mic off on 3 people, and you were all 3 of them.
Okay,
So,
well, that's good, you keep doing that. But I've already proved in the past that when someone, one of the citizens wants to find out information from the township, we can't ask it at a township meeting, and we'll try to call one of us, and I've actually got video of a supervisor in the township. I called, and they told me that he had already gone home, and I got a picture of him standing in the window talking to another supervisor, okay? So we can't do that. We can't depend on the phone system. And then I've also tried to FOIA the township for information and failed in that respect, which led to a big lawsuit. So you know what? We better start opening up to the public, okay? It's pretty sparse out here, but I think the public is really starting to wake up a little bit, and they're starting to get concerned on what's going on. And you know what? If you don't want to answer the questions here, there's another step that can be taken.
okay, I welcome more people to come to public meetings. I welcome more commentary.
Well, you good, because you don't answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Janowski. Other comment from the public present? With none offered, motion to adjourn? I didn't miss any? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Pojek, seconded by trustee Budney. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none offered. We will make a 9:20. Thanks, Mr. Ray.